Hello there. Usually, the term consciousness is associated with higher, cognitive performance. Consciousness is assigned to in accordance with information processing, as a principle of quantum physics. Everything that exists in this world, that is all quantum objects, are in principle integrated into this process. Information, fluctuation, and decoherence, entanglement and evolution included, have congruently been regarded as elementary. With these ingredients it is possible to produce a matter-containing reality in a four-dimensional world. Consciousness is associated with something alive, imminently sensed by someone's life experience. There is, however, evidence in the geological history of our Earth that inorganic matter existed earlier than living matter. I would like to pick up my thoughts concerning consciousness. I had them when I interested myself for Elysia timida. What does Elysia tell us about evolution and consciousness? Sea-slug Elysia timida found a way to make photosynthesis of algae available. How is that possible? As natural scientists, we assume that all complex biological systems were formed by evolutionary processes. An evolutionary process consists of 3 steps, which I want to characterize again briefly. First, something new is created, possibly unprecedented. In the second step, the new is combined with the existing and presented for selection. In the third and final step, a selection is made from the offered. The selection can be done passively by interactions with the environment, or actively by consideration of an individual inclination to pursue certain objectives. Sacoglossa, to which Elysia timida belongs, feeds almost exclusively on algae. The digestive organ of the slug crushes and breaks the eaten algae. A possibly new feature is that the slug, especially its bowel, is able to differentiate between different cell components of the decomposed algae. Via which biochemical functions or receptors this is made, is outside my own subject area. I do not speculate. The slug obviously has the possibility to selectively digest certain cell components, or maybe not, even though the individual components do not differ in principle, and other marine gastropods, despite the different algae components, digest the complete alga. For the second step of the evolutionary process, this results in the following combinations: A. Digest all cell components, B. Digest chloroplasts, C. Digest everything, except chloroplasts. In the third step of the evolutionary process, there is a choice among the 3 options presented. With a passive selection by the environment, either everything remains the same, combination of A, or the new one is usually a crucial advantage for sustaining life and reproduction. By an active selection, needs can determine the choice, and B or C can come to fruition. Biologists act on the assumption that, in periods of starvation, the Elysia slugs are supplied with energy sourced from the chloroplasts, continue to operate in the intestine photosynthesis. An experiment showed, however, that the slugs are able to survive without photosynthesis in chloroplasts. After 2 months in darkness, the slugs were alive as before. Researchers now suggest that the slug does not necessarily benefit instantly of the chloroplasts, but only at times, when the intestinal cells degrade them. For a passive selection by the environment in the third step of evolution speaks the fact that one can derive a marginal benefit to the life preserver by the presence of chloroplasts in the intestine. But is this advantage a crucial one? Against the action of a passive process speaks the ability of the slug itself to recognize the difference of various cellular components of the algae, or through its intestinal cells. so there is something that can adapt to different requirements. With regard to the selection in the evolutionary process, the selection of evolution fell on combination C, which means that everything is digested, except the chloroplasts. The slug seems to have the opportunity, however, to opt for the combination B in periods of starvation, namely, to digest the chloroplasts. There is a non-deterministic choice between possible alternatives of behavior. If we also assume that the slug has the simple desire to make its life more comfortable, by letting chloroplasts produce oxygen and sugar, then all the criteria for information processing are met. The same process of consciousness that decides when chloroplasts have to produce oxygen and sugar, and when both of the components have to be digested, conducted the active selection at the third stage of evolution, as well. It is certainly not a sophisticated process of consciousness, as is the self or upper consciousness in humans. It is rather a process similar to the subconscious. In humans, subconscious mind performs many choices and physical controls. Only the most important thing is fed to the upper consciousness for decision. And, what is most important, the subconscious will decide, anyway. The Elysia slug demonstrates us with a high probability that simple processes of consciousness themselves act on a not too high a level of development. A metric-free vacuum as a non-local physical field, not belonging to the space-time, contains nothing except the information that is equivalent to energy or matter. If, from a quantum theoretical point of view, a kind of spiritual interaction of all quantum objects with the metric-free vacuum is possible, then the question compulsorily arises, whether or not non-organic matter must have consciousness. 2. More information on the subject is available in this book by the authors Norbert Vrobel and Klaus-Dieter Sedlacek, Quantum Consciousness, Natural Foundations of a Theory of Evolutionary Quantum Consciousness.